Welcome to the Aspire for Excellence Foundation webinar series. This is for the month of February, and with us today is our speaker for today. Our speaker for today is Samson Oboro, but he's going to be introduced shortly. But just before we start, our speaker today will be speaking to us about something that is really important. Okay, and the title of today's webinar series is Influence, Leveraging the Power of Relationships. Influence, Leveraging the Power of Relationships. So let me, George, you do the introductions, and just immediately after our speaker will continue. Okay, so thank you all, and let's get started as others begin to join us. Thank you.
Mr. Samson Oboro is the regional head, Port Harcourt of Premium Trust Bank. It's the fastest growing bank and the recipient of the most innovative mobile bank app for 2023. Before becoming the regional head, he was the pioneer business development manager and was responsible for overseeing the bank's day-to-day marketing, sales, and operations. Prior to joining Premium Trust Bank, Mr. Samson was the team lead institutional banking, Rivers, Abia, and Imo states of Sterling Bank. He has 22 years of cognate experience spanning retail, commercial, corporate, and institutional banking, with 11 years spent in managerial and supervisory capacity. Mr. Samson earned an MBA from Nexford University and a Bachelor of Science degree in Mechanical Engineering from the University of Lagos. Mr. Samson is the president of Divine Elect Sapphires Club, a Christian non-governmental organization involved in philanthropy and reaching out to the less privileged in society. He loves playing chess, Scrabble, and football. He's married to Mrs. Becky Oboro, and they are blessed with 3 children, Janita, Jaden, and Jaziel. Welcome, sir. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, sir. You have the floor, sir.
Oh, okay. Wow. Thank you so very much for this honor. I count it a great privilege to be here this evening to just, share a bit of my experience on the floor today. As I normally do, I can see a lot of faces. I'm not taking this for granted, and I want to appreciate the Aspire for Excellence team for giving me fit to give me this opportunity this night. So, like Mike said, we cannot overemphasize the importance of influence and relationships generally. For starters, my name is Samson Oboro. I'm sure when my parents named me, Oboro simply means without people, there can be no world. That's the literal meaning of my name. And I think over the years, I've grown to live my name. So for the next couple of minutes, I just want to take us through things I've seen in my course of my life, and I want to believe is able to reach out, and then we can glean some things from my shared experience. So I've been asked to speak on influence and how you can leverage on relationships. If you don't mind, I would just like to do a little bit of exercise. Okay, I'll just like to start this by saying, can we do a little exercise? Can somebody just have a deep thought? Before we go to the slides, just have a deep thought and think of anybody on this earth, other than God, of course. Anybody on this earth. Anybody you can think of on this earth. Might be somebody that you know or somebody you've been meaning to meet. Any person that comes to your mind. Just hold that thought. I'm during the course of the meeting, we'll come back to it. But if you can write it down. Just write whosoever. It might be a person of interest you don't know, but you've been admiring from afar, and that you're looking at talking to, engaging over the course of your life. Just write it down and keep it somewhere. Okay, so we'll get back to that afterwards. So this evening, I've decided to look at, I'll be talking in two dimensions. So I'll be interchanging them, influence and relationships. Um, I'll make some definitions and I'll speak to relationships and I'll tie it to influence. And I'm sure at the end of the day, we'll come to a conclusion. So let's go to the first slide. So I've said the power of positive relationships. And I'm particular with the use of the word positive, because relationships can either be negative or positive. For this exercise, we'll be talking about positive relationships. I used to have a teacher in secondary school, and he would tell me, Samson, if you take 5 steps forward and 2 steps backward, you have taken 3 steps forward. Then I didn't used to understand. I said, and I asked myself, but you've also retrogressed. But he said the net outcome is that you have taken 3 steps forward. But as human beings, we tend to, major on the negatives, and we'll hammer ourselves on that 2 steps backward that we took, instead of being grateful to God that we've actually moved 3 steps. We'll put so much pressure on ourselves that we've gone back 2 steps, instead of looking at your initial position and the fact that you've gone to 3 steps forward. So the first thing that we'll say is that for every positive relationships, we need to be effective in our communication. What do you want to get out of that relationship? For every person that you meet, what do you want from that relationship? And you can only do so if you are open and you are honest with yourself. Is it that boss in the office? Is it that colleague? Is it that church member? Is it even a family member? For every relationship that one gets into, we need to be open and we need to be honest in the communications that we engage, that because that will lead to any strong relationship. This helps both parties understand and allows individuals to express their thoughts. I'm expressing my thoughts this night. Some of the things I will say today, you might or might not take it. Some you can take it and then you can, improve on it to walk your beats. So I'm just going to lay the foundation and then we'll get somewhere. But where we're going to is that communication and effective communication will land at a trust level. That is the foundation of every relationship, communications. You cannot toy with it. For every relationship that would eventually lead to being an influential one, the foundation is trust. If I don't trust you, I can't open a communication network with you. A child gets born. The child just knows that they must suckle at the mom's breast. Whether the mom likes it or not, God has imparted into the mother the opportunity to feed her baby. The baby trusts the mother implicitly 100%. So at that point, there's an open communication between the mother and the baby. And that's kind of power that a positive relationship brings. The next thing is that when it goes into trust, then we need to build that trust. This is where you need to put in an actual work. The third law of physics says thermodynamics of kinetic energy says for every action there's an opposite and equal reaction. And the first law actually says a body will continue to be at rest or uniform motion until exerted by another force. So trust is that force that keeps on building except something comes and breaks it. So there is time and there is consistent effort. When individuals do not relate on this basis, trust cannot be built. I work in a financial institution and then I'm entrusted with, large sums of money. And when I started my career, I used to ask myself, and I'll say, oh, is it possible for you to bank, for instance, a husband and a wife? Who will your sympathy go to when there's an issue? And then over the course of the years, as you develop, as you mature, you find out that you can actually bank an entire family, the mother, the father, the children, without giving out any issues whatsoever. So the secret, the banking secret of the husband is safe with you, the wife is safe with you, the kids are safe with you because there is an underlying trust. That is the basis by which the contract was signed in the first place. And it is the knowledge that if I break that trust, it will either lead to my loss of the job, because a critical aspect of my job, which is the oath of confidentiality and secrecy, has been destroyed. So building trust is a key component of building an effective and a positive relationship. When we're also building trust, it also shows and gives us the ability that we tend to be vulnerable. Vulnerability in itself is not a position to say you are not enough, but it is just to show that you are human after all. And it is the fact that God has made us in that manner. As humans, we tend to be vulnerable, we tend to be emotional, we tend to be sentimental. But over the years and as you mature, you can actually build yourself into this level. So somebody builds a relationship with you and then he shares particular things with you. Not what you see on social media these days where secrets are not kept. How would you build an influence? How would you leverage on relationships if somebody cannot trust you with their life? And that's what we're going to talk about today. The first thing we talked about was communication. We entered into trust building. And I said for trust building, it takes time, it takes effort. It takes time and it takes effort. Effort by both parties. It's not a one-party thing. When that is done, then we'll go to what we call mutual support. And it's the next thing that I'll be talking about, mutual support. And what does mutual support means? You'll see the diagram I tried to depict. And then you have somebody in the middle, and then it's connected to like 5 hydra heads. Everybody is a connecting bit. Everybody is connected one to another. And when we started, I told us to write somebody who would like to speak to. Probably we don't know that person, but we just want to meet that person or want to get the contact of that person. At this junction, so I let it not be this thing. I don't know if anybody is able to just unmute or permit and then just tell us who he or she has written down, if you don't mind. Is anybody bold enough to help us? Yeah, I can see Patrick Agu. Patrick, share with us. What name did you write?
All right. Good evening, sir. Thank you so
Yeah,
much
good
for the
evening, Patrick.
message. Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. I actually have, I wrote down Vusi Tembekwayo. He's someone I've listened to and I've admired him from a very far distance. And
Mm.
one of the things I love about him is the ease with which he communicates his ideas and
Fantastic.
how he brings it down to your level, and he
Mm.
makes the difficult thing that used
Mm.
to look mysterious to become
Mm.
so demystified. So that's one thing I really love about Vusi.
Mm.
And I actually have a part of me that I see in him, which I
Mm.
would really love to build to become, to shine like that, because it's a good example. And I know it took process to get there, and
Mm.
I'll really do anything to meet him. Yeah, so
Well, Patrick, fantastic. I follow Vusi. I've been following Vusi. Personally, two people have shaped me. Vusi and Simon Sinek. Those two people, excellent people. Vusi is called to deal with entrepreneurs. So probably maybe that's why you have a tally with Vusi. So I follow Vusi. We're friends on Instagram and what have you. And he's an excellent character. Excellent, excellent character. What a wonderful person that you've called. But where I was going with the exercise is that you've written Vusi. So ask yourself, between you and Vusi, how many relationships or how many calls do you think you have to make to reach out to Vusi? Do you have an idea?
I actually think it's gonna be a lot.
You think
Where
or
I
you
say
assume? You
where
believe.
I assume, okay, where I assume is gonna be a lot, because I haven't actually given it a thought, because I haven't that opportunity to come close to him, to ask my questions, to
Mm.
just glean from him closely. I've not encountered it yet, so I
Okay.
don't even know what the logistics would be like to reach out to him.
Okay. Okay. So I don't want to go straight to the influence part, but that exercise, I mean, if you picture it, I want to see or I want to speak to Vusi. So the question that will come to my mind is, okay, who do I know that knows somebody that can connect me to Vusi? So I'll lay my options. Okay, I'll start local. Okay, do I think who is Vusi? He's a well-known speaker. What does he represent? He's a South African. His office is based in Dubai. He works all over the world. And then I can reach him. So the number of people it takes you to get to your promised land is actually what I term as your range of influence. So for every person that you know or you want to meet, the number of people it takes for you to reach them in mathematical term is my own definition of your range of influence. I repeat. So off the top of my head, personally, I work in a financial institution. I know Vusi as a bank. So I am one phone call away from my managing director. My managing director is one phone call away from the Central Bank of Nigeria's director. There's every odds that there's the odds that the Central Bank of Nigeria director knows somebody like Adesina. I'm just thinking. Adesina is the head of the African Development Bank. It's possible that he has met Vusi and then he can have Vusi's phone number. So off the top of my head, I want to talk to Vusi. I want to engage Vusi. Probably it might take me 5 or 6 phone calls. And then that says my range for that person. Any person in the world, Tim Cook, Steve Jobs, name any person other than God, because obviously he's sovereign. So this graph that I've just drawn gives you a support system. You know, when I started, I said communication, you build trust because we're going somewhere. Because you can't have that, you cannot build a foundation, you can't put something on nothing. So if that trust, that ability to be able to go through and engage and get people to warm up to you, if it's not there, then you're not going anywhere. So this mutual support goes ahead by the diagram. It speaks to the people that you have hanging around you. There's a popular adage that 20 friends from childhood cannot continue for life. After a while, some things will begin to break. And for every place that you aspire to reach, just find out that you keep on growing your network. That's the support system. At a time in our life, our support system consisted of probably our family, probably a group of friends. But as you keep on growing, you just find out that you continue to go higher and higher in your field. When I started as a young banker, for instance, there were some things that I just couldn't do, or people that I wanted to have access to, but I couldn't. And then sometimes later, when at that time I had my manager, and my manager had to go on leave, and I was said, "Oh, act in the manager's capacity." And I just found out that some things just continued to work. But before I was asked to act, I'd already developed myself. The organization saw that I had the wherewithal to handle the higher capacity. Basically, I'm sure we work in the corporate industry. Notice that before you get to a capacity, the organization understands that you have the ability to administer at that level. And as you develop, you find out that you no longer think local, even international. You're not even just looking at your team, you're looking at the overall objective of your organization. And to get to that goal, you will need every ounce of support that is required. And when this mutual support is gotten, you need to be careful, because you need to go down to the level that everything that happens within that support system, you want to be part of. If successes are made, you want to be part of it. If there is any part of discomfort, you want to be part of it. It is only when you show these skills, when you show this ability, people begin to trust, and they begin to engage you. They begin to see worth in you. They begin to give you tasks. They begin to call upon you even while you are not there. And that's how you can begin to grow your influence from stage to stage. Support. This is very, very key. Very, very, very key. Next one. So I want to go briefly to what I've termed, how do you now leverage on relationships for influence? I've spoken about it a bit, but then I'll say the first thing. I said, cultivate an authentic relationship. Cultivate an authentic relationship. And pardon me if I say that is actually missing in the world today. Relationships that are authentic. I'm trying to be economical with my words right now, because obviously I wouldn't know whose ox is God, but God will help me. I'll try to want to break it down as simply as possible. If somebody is not being authentic with you, except you don't have the spirit of discernment, except you want to lie to yourself, you will know. But a lot of times, especially in this country, we've been stage managed. We've been our mindset has been so caged into believing that mediocrity is a pastime and a way of life, and then people should accept anything. I once heard of a story of a man that came to a hotel in Nigeria, and he went into the shower, and then the showers, he wanted to have his bath, and then showers came down. And there were some holes in the showers that was not bringing out water. He had his bath and he went and he complained to the hotel management, a 5-star hotel supposedly. And then the technician came and he said, sir, the shower is working. And the guy said, but it's not working. Some holes are not bringing out water. And the guy says, but the ones that are bringing out water is sufficient enough for you to have a bath. Why complain? Oh, you are being too picky. And that's what the technician said. And the technician left. And he sat down and he began to wonder that, is he the one that is not having the right mind, or is it the people that are here just taking anything for granted? We tend to miss out on little things. And it has a way of also impacting our influence. Relationships, authentic relationships, are the only relationships that will last a lifetime. That will last a lifetime. I repeat, authentic relationships, relationships that come from the heart, is not second guessed. Those are the ones that will last a lifetime. And we need to be intentional about how we go through these things. Because connections that are genuine, you will know it. In John chapter 3, in the good book, I hope I'm permitted. Apologies to who that are not Christians here, but permit me to just share a bit from John. A very, very interesting story. We had someone, John the Baptist, that was baptizing people. And then he had followers. He had baptized Jesus, and Jesus was also somewhere baptizing people. And his followers came over to him. And then they said, oh, John, this was a man you just baptized. How come people are gravitating there? You, that you are supposed to be the head, you showed him the way. You, people are leaving you. What is up? Don't you think he's supposed to show you? Blah, blah. We know the story. I just want to paraphrase from there. And then John told them, and he said, the person that we're talking about, the influence he has, is not even a man in the first place. He's just come in a man form, but he's God. So I'm not in, competition with him, ab initio. At that point in time, although later he became jealous but I want to speak to, at that point in time, he recognized, he was genuine. The relationship he had was that was authentic ab initio from the onset. And he recognized the place of Christ in that his relationship. It was a great honor in the first place to have baptized God as man. And then later he went back, he didn't stop baptizing, even though the Redeemer had come. Although you could argue he didn't cultivate the relationship further. But I won't dovetail into that. For the purpose of this exercise, we're talking about cultivating authentic relationships. And that can only happen when trust is built, when there is credibility. That's another strong word that is lacking in our times: credibility. In fact, if you talk to quite a lot of literature on influence, yes, 5 C's, 3 C's, and what have you. Ideally, the key things are, for me, that I take in any relationship opportunity are three. There are credibility, there is competency, and then there is care. Everything revolves around those three things. Once you are credible, once you are competent, and once you are empathetic or you show care, no matter where you are, you will be influential. So the next thing, I'll run very fast, we need to leverage our networks. Where is your network? What is your network? There's a saying, it is only a madman that keeps on doing the same thing and expects a different result. So if your present network is not taking you to where you ought to be, then you need to change your network. It's as simple as that. Practice empathy and active listening. I'm privileged today to have over 40 persons listening to me. Somebody else could have been asked to do this session, but I've been asked today to do this session. So there's a difference between just listening, passive listening, and active listening. Active listening, you're able to decipher, you're able to bring out some salient points, are able to take the one that belongs to you. At a very early age, my dad, may God rest his soul, he didn't go to school, but he understood the place for education. And there was something he used to tell us, two key things. And then, just like the Bible says, and it was something that was clear, one of my dad's favorite scripture, a good name is to be chosen than riches. Good name, reputation, credibility. And then he used to tell us every Friday, and he says, yes, I did have the opportunity of going to school. I went into business, but then your path is ahead of you. So I grew up, I was a voracious reader at the time. And then I was just reading everything. So then my dad, he bought books, the Paysetter series. I'm sure if I go through my collection, and then I read practically almost all the Paysetters. It got to a point I I metamorphosed into Ali Chases, and then I went into other bestsellers until obviously the Bible became a worthy companion, and then I just slowed down. I started reading other genres of books. But where am I going with this? I'm going with this to say that in life, every step of the way, it is not necessarily how you were put into a place. It's also dependent on your ability to understand that you have a goal, you have a God-given objective and purpose, and then you need to get there, come what may. And that drives you into building relationships. It drives you into leveraging on network, and it drives you at the end of the day into becoming influential. The next thing very quickly is that we need to collaborate effectively. This is a collaboration today. Prior to now, I've not had the opportunity of knowing Mr. Mike, but now I know him. So that's a collaboration. And then I end up by saying we need to nurture long-term partnerships. Long-term partnerships. Just before COVID, a friend of mine, I had not spoken to him since we left secondary school, rings me up and he says, Samson, I want to set up a business in Nigeria. I would like you to be my financial consultant. And I'm like, guy, you just called me from the blues. We've not spoken in like over 15, 20 years. And then you call me from the blues. Said, I don't need to call you. I see you on our alumni group chats. I follow you. I see what you post on your WhatsApp profile. I do all this. And then I'm led to just call you for this one. And I know you're a banker. I think you can handle this business. Obviously, I was elated, but I went back and I started thinking, meditating. I said, did I do anything differently? Where and where? Obviously, we had been in secondary school and nothing else. But obviously, we chat birthdays, we just about nothing deep. But this guy just calls on the blue and says, handle this. That's what a long time relationship that you nurture well can do for you. Overcoming challenges in relationships. If I'm running too fast, please you can draw me back. I'm trying to just put all the slides. Ordinarily, the slides I'm sure we can share. Just follow my line of thought and processes. I'll put in a lot of things together, but we'll arrive at a normal place. So I've said two things. relationships, leveraging relationships, and we're going to influence because the topic is influence, leveraging on positive relationships. So I'm just trying to break down the relationship and I'll tie it into how you tend to be influential through that. I've spoken a bit about this, but I said, how do you overcome challenges in any relationship? The first thing is that you need to show empathy and you need to be understanding. In my early years, when I started leading teams, I was a bit harsh going back then. And then if a staff called me, I just didn't want to listen. I'll just come. No, no, you have to be in the office. The rule says this. You must go by this. And then I hold a session with my team members um, once a year. And in that session, I call it a no holds barred session. And every member of staff, every member, down to the janitors, the drivers, everybody, we come to a place and then anonymously you write about anybody in the office. And nobody is expected to have a right of reply. And then everything is written and we put it in a box. And somebody goes and he reads it verbatim. You write on any person, it can be positive, it can be negative. You just write about that person, and then once it is written, the paper is torn. If your name is called, you take it as a feedback. The idea behind it is how well are you doing? You might think you are doing well, but your perception outside is totally different. And one of those days, a staff of mine wrote, Mr. Samson is very, very nice. However, he shouts too much, he's not empathetic, and he's not understanding, especially to the females. And then I sat down and I remember I went home and I said, I went to my wife, I said, honey, do I not show empathy? And he got me a while. He says, females, they have moods. A female has a different anatomy. There are days that is just beyond them. You need to understand how their body system works so that you can manage them better. I didn't understand this earlier until later I cultivated and it now became a part and parcel of me. Empathy, understanding. The next thing that I'll talk about in overcoming challenges, I can see that the slides are not up, but I'm sure they will still show it later. The next thing is maintaining a support system. I read an unfortunate story recently of a young man that committed suicide somewhere. I don't know the reason he gave. The reason I was giving, either he was lied upon or didn't get help after when needed. And it's a wave that is permeating the youths of our time. And then if you take time to meditate and ask yourself, how did he get to this stage? You can find a root cause in the lack of a good support system. Ordinarily, the first support system is your nuclear family. But I also understand that in life, sometimes you might not have the ability or you don't have the opportunity to glean from your nuclear family. So I can interchange or I can say that you on your own, you can now develop a family that becomes a nuclear family on the premise that you already understand your God-given purpose, and then you can identify a set of persons that will be your family that you can now make as your support system. For some persons, it might be colleagues. For some persons, it might be their spouses. For some persons, it might even be a boss or your pastor or somebody that you respect. And in any of these support system, you see that the people that you eventually choose, they are influential in how you act, how you think, the final thing that you will do. Everything is tending towards influence. Every support system that we have, that we cultivate today, speaks to somebody of influence in your life or in your career. I'm going to repeat that. Every support system that you have, no matter the number, today, if you think deep, they have a place of influence in your life, no matter how infinitesimal it is. So you need to be sure of the support system that you maintain. Who do you call on to when you're stressed? Who do you call on to when the relationship is going astray? A couple last year, 2 years ago, there was something that was trending all over the papers, and then we have a couple of people that I call scallywags that say they are relationship experts, and then somebody comes and he says he's a relationship expert. He's probably gone through 2 or 3 divorces and hasn't been in a home for more than 3, 4, 5 years, and people follow that person. And I think it was Papadiboyi, if I'm not mistaken, that was sharing his thoughts, 38 years of marriage, and a lot of things were said. And I heard funny comments say, oh, there was the marriage being enjoyed or endured, all sorts of things. And I know I was talking with a young guy in my church, and he said, yeah, these people, are you sure, and everything. And I asked him, I said, who would you rather take advice from? Somebody that has been in the game for 38 years and is still standing, or somebody that not even spent 5 years in a relationship that has divorced twice, and that person says they're a relationship expert. Who is your support system? The world has gone to that level where people, just for the sake of likes, or polluting the generations that are now, come out just because they have access to social media and spew quite a lot of things. But the ability to roommate through this stands you out. So support system is very, very key. And that's a key thing that one can do in managing any challenge that you have in any relationship. So, how do you leverage on technology? We've said quite a lot. I mean, this medium that I'm speaking to us now is via technology. Thanks for bringing this. I can speak to a lot of person at the same time, and it enhances connectivity. The next thing it does is that it supports collaboration. We are collaborating today just because there is a need and there's the ability for technology. Growing up, we had green phone in my house, and then our neighbors used to come and they would line up to receive phone calls if you are pre-Nitel. And then we used to queue and buy Nitel cards. And then we didn't have GSM, we didn't have mobile. The highest people that had mobile then was Turaya phones, and you were all big people. And then you had to buy a card and you line on ends on mobile or at Nitel phone booths. Now there's no phone booth in Nigeria. And I remember the first time I had to open my Yahoo account, it was overnight. I had to drop my name, and then I came back 24 hours later, and they printed my this, and I know the kind of celebration I celebrated because I had a Yahoo address. And today, people have multiple Yahoo addresses, and that's what technology has done. Because technology has enhanced relationships. Now I can talk to somebody in Canada, in the US, in the Philippines at the same time. Probably a couple of years ago, I couldn't do that. Then the next thing it has done is that it has also enabled the personalization of skill. Now you can increase skill at the touch of a button. We use several systems. There is CRM systems that is used to maintain personalized interactions at a large scale. We have AI now. We have teleboots. We have prompters. We have so many things, and that also helps in building relationships. Although we're not talking about relationships, I understand now you can even build relationship with a robot. But now we're talking about human relationships. Then this also enables us to expand our network. Next slide. So I'll run quickly on actionable steps I believe we can use to enhance and influence through relationships. The first thing I've talked about before is active listening. I'm repeating it here again because it's a skill. It's not embedded. It's not something that we're born with. An average human doesn't want to listen. We already have our preconception about how we want things to be. If you want to be influential, you need to be an active listener. And that's why I put it as the first thing towards influence. You need to be an active listener. And that's one of the first things. And you need to keep on practicing. You need to keep on practicing. You need to keep on practicing. It is a skill. You can go online. You can go on courses. In fact, you can have an entire session on listening, knowing human different types of human moods. You can study that. It's different study entirely. The next thing that we'll talk about, we need to celebrate achievements. Celebrate achievements. At home, your kid comes back from school and then says, "Oh, I've gotten this." Do you celebrate your kid? In the office, your professional space, you meet a target. Do you celebrate? Or you're always on the part of, "Oh, you didn't meet that target." I work in a target-driven environment, so every day we're on targets. Celebrate achievements. There is a secretion that comes about when achievements are celebrated that spurs you into wanting to do much more. And it's something God has given into us. God enjoys gratitude. God is a celebration God. Apologies that I have to, I'm trying not to tend towards my faith. So you permit me when I need to say that. Apologies to anybody that is not sharing my faith. I hope I'm forgiven after now. But it's just something I just have to say. Okay? So I also spoke to authenticity. This is necessary. I cannot overemphasize the need to be authentic. This stands you out. This builds your influence. When Patrick was saying and he was speaking about Vusi, Vusi is authentic. I've never heard, I've listened to quite a lot of speakers. I won't think there's any speaker in the world like Vusi. The way he able to intermarry and give examples, life examples about things is top notch. And I'm with you, Patrick. He's somebody that I know I'm going to see. He was in Nigeria 2 years ago. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to meet up to that program. I'm sure I will get to see him too, physically. Although, like I said, I engage him online, but we've not had the opportunity of seeing him physically as well. I'm sure I'll do that. Then now takes us to the concept of influence. So the first thing I'll attempt to do, if you permit me, I'm going to just read the definition of influence as I begin to round up. I've been given 1 hour. I'm sure I have about 5 minutes to go. Mr. Mike, I think I have 5 minutes to go, so I'll just absolutely rush through this.
Yeah,
So,
you have 7 minutes.
okay, I'll just run through this. So the first thing I'll talk, the definition of influence. It says, the noun definition, it says the power to affect, to control, or to manipulate something or someone. The ability to change the development of fluctuating things, such as conduct, thoughts, or decisions. That is influence. Mark the words, the power to affect, to control, or to manipulate. So, you can become so influential. For sake of a better understanding, I'm sure we know about way back, somebody was so influential in the United States, was able to influence his followers to drink poison, and they all died. That's the power of influence. Influence, if not tailored properly, can be very, very disastrous. So that's why, as leaders and as people that aspire towards excellence, we need to be careful the kind of influence that we want to carry. I'm not talking about political influence. I'm not talking about the kind of influence that when you are off that role, you no longer carry. You know, you can have an influence that is role based because of the position you sit, people follow you. But we need to go beyond that to be influential in the people's thoughts. So even when the role is taken away from you, you are still influential. However, a lot of our politicians in this country, we fall into that bucket. The moment you are no longer a honorable, your influence is gone. A story is always making me laugh. I mean, it was shared by Ruben Abati himself. And he said when they left the government, right from Eagle Square, even all the people that told themselves they were going to usher our former president back to Otueke, just from Eagle Square, just from between Eagle Square and going to pick his load, some people were already deviating because he was no longer president. That's obviously you can hazard a guess the kind of influence he has or he had at that time. So I've said here we can leverage on the power of relationships to build our influence. And when you build your influence, what are you doing? The first thing is that you are creating value. Influence is value addition. The influence you create now is going to last a long and a lifetime. Even if it is not for you, it will be for your children. I served in Oshogo for 1 year. I didn't pay a dime just because I met a man that said he knew my dad. And one of those days, he was coming from a party, he was late with my cousin, and they came to my house. I was not at home, and they came to our house, and my dad and my mom opened the door for them, and they slept overnight. And then he left. They didn't know him, but they accommodated him. And I got to a place doing youth service, and he saw my son name, and he said, I know this name. And he said, oh, I didn't even know the story. And he said, wow. And he said, where do you stay? I said, a hotel. He said, I'm in this town, you stay in a hotel? No. And he took me and he just housed me for 1 year. I didn't pay rent. I was cruising as a copper. Power of relationship. So relationship and influence, it creates value. The next thing, establish credibility. I'm rushing. The slide will be shared, so you permit me to say. But I like to say credibility, you can't get enough it. There's no way you are influential. I'm not talking about the political influence. Influential as a person that people cannot hold on to something about you. You need to be credible. The third thing is that you need to maintain reciprocity. Give and it shall be given unto you. Pressed down, shaken together, shall men give unto your bosom. There must be reciprocity. So if somebody is doing well, you need to reciprocate, either by advice, either by tutoring, either by mentoring. And it is only by that that you can grow the number of people that are influential around you. The fourth one is we need to build genuine connections. I've spoken about this. When you're authentic, your connections are genuine. It's from the heart. It's not being done because I want something in return. Even though you will still get something in return, but then it is coming from a place of trust and credibility. Lastly, I just written there that leveraging relationships for influence is not about manipulation, but about collaboration, mutual respect, and shared success. When this is done ethically, it creates lasting value and strengthens the bonds between individuals and communities. Thank you. I hope I'm able to work within the time. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I hope I've been able to share a bit of my experience as well. Thank you, Mr. Mike.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you much. Appreciated. Thank you very much, Mr. Samson. Thank you very much. Thank you for your wealth of experience. Thank you for what you've shared. Okay. And I believe that everyone who has had a chance to listen to you tonight, we've had about 55 people here that have listened to you here tonight. So we want to say a big thank you to you. Now
Thank
the
you.
floor is open. If you have any questions, I don't know if we have any questions in the chat box. I haven't checked because I was looking at it. Okay, we don't have any questions in the chat box. Okay, if you have a question, you could please open your mic, or you could probably raise your hand, then we could call you, okay, so that you could probably ask your questions, if that's okay. Okay, we have one hand up. Oh, sorry, the hand that is up is the hand of a child. So, so okay, I'll go, Patrick. Maybe let's take you.
All right, thank you so much, sir, for the opportunity. Thank you very much, sir, for this presentation. Like, it was really timely, and I know I learned a lot of things. Yeah, there's something that's been bothering me for a while now, and that's how to really maintain a very healthy relationship between you and someone you look up to without intruding in their space for too long, right? Because despite the fact that you're close to someone ahead of you, one should not, you shouldn't be too intrusive. So you really know when to come in, and it won't be a problem, and you won't be a nuisance, even though you actually want to impact, you want to get from them. So I really want to know how to bridge that gap. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Patrick. So I mentioned quite a lot of things. So the first thing is, okay, I'll answer it two ways. So first and foremost, I don't think God, in His awesomeness, will ever think any of His children will be intrusive in His space. That's the first thing. So because He always accepts us, He's always with us. But definitely, we're not talking about God now. The same way as a growing child with our parents, every time our kids, they want to meet us because they look up to us. So I mentioned something about mutual support. So there are some support systems that are closer, some are farther. You need to be able to determine which ones are closer. The ones that are close, you can barge in on them anytime. There are relationships that I have today. If I'm bothered by 2 a.m., I will call you. By 3 a.m., I'm going to call you. So the first thing you need to do, and that's what I shared, is that you need to be able to segment your relationships. There are relationships that it's just like if you play, you know what we call last card. There are some relationships, there are some, if you in the security world, there are some numbers that you call when everything has been tested, you have nowhere to go. They call it the last number to reach out to, whatsoever that is, for people that are into espionage movies. So back to your question, you need to have developed, once you develop the relationship with that person, you'll be able to determine how you engage that person. So if the person says you can reach me anytime, then if you need help, by all means, reach that person anytime. If the person is too busy And then you have segmented that person to be in the categories of the people that it is only when it gets to a very, very complex issue that you think is the only one to handle, you call upon such persons. As bankers, we are privileged to have some numbers, for instance, because of the work that we do. We probably have the numbers of the top key security personnel in the country. But I wouldn't call them for anything. Even though they are friends, they are my friends. But I won't call them because I respect their office. But within your influence, within your people, your support system, you will have some persons that you can reach out at any time. You will also have some people that you reach out when it comes to a different scenario. Then you now have the people that are there. So anytime you call them, they will pick your call because they know you don't call them except it is really necessary. So for such persons, you don't joke with it. So you don't just call them out of the blues. So the choice of segmenting the people that you call is now on you. And then you can go back after now. First things first, draw up your support system. Have an open engagement with them, communicate with them. Anytime you have the opportunity, say, oh, sir, I really respect you. I know you're busy. Do you think it would be nice if I call you at short notice? Would you permit me? He's going to tell you yes or no. If he tells you yes, by all means, go ahead. If he tells you, oh, no, I'm busy, anytime you want to reach me between the hours of 8 and 12. You listen to that, and then it goes to your notes, and you reach out to those persons at that point in time. So that's what you need to do. There's no other fast rule towards this thing, but it is your ability to be able to segment based on your reporting, your communication lines with these persons that determines the level of input that you reach out to them at any given point in time. Have I been able to answer that question, please?
So well, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, Patrick.
All right, thank you very much for that. Do we have another hand up? I can't see any other hand up. Does anyone have any questions before we call it a night? Or does anyone have anything to share? We still have some few minutes. Okay, Austin, your hand is up. So Austin, go ahead. You can unmute your mic, Austin.
Good evening, House. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Austin. Go ahead. Go
Okay.
ahead. We can hear you. Go ahead.
Good evening. And
Good evening, Austin.
good evening, Mr. Samson. Thank you so much for your wealth of knowledge, experience, and what you've shared with us this evening. It's a time well spent.
Oh, we lost Austin.
Yeah, it appears we lost him. Let's see if we wait a little bit to see if it will come. Okay, just, I normally tell people that money alone is not the only currency we have, okay? Your network alone, it's a currency, Your
Yes,
time is also a currency. Integrity is also a currency,
Yes,
There are
it
people
is.
who do not have something. So there are several things you can trade in life to be able to get to your dreams, because a lot of people say, okay, I don't have money and that's the end of it. No, your trust is there, the integrity is there, your network is there, like we're saying, and what we are discussing about, even the influence you have. It's something you can trade off on to be able to see you through. And there are times even money cannot cut it, but the
No.
influence and the integrity you have, because people they've known you over the years and they can stake whatever they want to stake as a result of that. Okay. So thank you so much for tonight. Does anyone have any last question? Okay, Austin, you are back. I can see you are back, Austin. Seems you had a little network challenge.
I think the network is going back and front
I can,
with
I can.
Austin.
Yeah, sorry. I had a low battery. I didn't know actually. My phone switched off.
I'm so sorry.
All right, so let me quickly get to it. I was asking, you have somebody that you want to collaborate with, you've
Hmm.
admired his or her work over time, but you've reached out and the person has not responded to you. Um, what are the tips that you can use, to connect to somebody that you really want to build and develop a relationship with, and how do you nurture such
Hmm.
relationship when it finally created? Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. Very interesting question. Okay, so you want to enter a space, but you've not been given the opportunity yet. But you feel that you and this person can actually collaborate and make something out of it. So the first things first, you need to be able to, if you don't have direct access to that person, you need to research that person. That's the first thing. You need to put in a little bit of work and get to know. I mean, it's something that if it's something I want, I don't mind spending any amount of money to get to reach out to that person. So the first things first, if you want to collaborate, identify what is the reason for the collaboration. It gets back to communication. Once you communicate with a body or person, and then your what's it called? Your mind, they gel. Automatically, the person wants to meet with you because you have something of value that you want to give. So you cannot collaborate with every person, and we see that quite a lot. Some people don't even read. We have a couple of people that you reach out to, and it becomes very tedious, and then they probably have not read your mail. You need to break the ceiling. When when the man in the Bible, I think it was in John, and the Bible, Luke, sorry, and the Bible was talking about that guy that was on the mat and had been bedridden, and they needed to see the master. Obviously, they could not get to the master through the normal means. They went through the roof, and we know the story. They were able to see, and they got their healing. So sometimes collaboration, you can find out where will these people be ministering? Where will they be? Go there. After the physical ministration, reach out and meet that person. A lot of time it works. Sometimes you're willing to break the barrier to generate a collaboration. Because it might not be due to the person's fault. It's possible he has not seen your message because we have a lot of people now. As you go bigger, you have PAs, you have SAs, you have all those people. So some of them, they don't get to see the messages at all. So these PAs and co, what do? They sieve the ones they think their master should see. And you'll be there somewhere, you've written several letters for collaboration, the person is not speaking to you. And you'll be there somewhere, you'll be feeling bad. Once collaboration is there, there must be mutual, there must be shared responsibility. In the two ways, there must be reciprocity. So the person you want to collaborate with, the question is he willing to collaborate with you? Once he's willing to collaborate and collaboration starts, then nurturing automatically develops. What is that collaboration for? Is it short term? Is it long term? We have some collaboration that is just for that moment. That's what you typically see in maybe a contractor client relationship. You have a task and the person finishes that task and it's over. For that period, there's collaboration. So the question now is after the collaboration, you want to nurture the relationship. So what are you nurturing? Is it the business that brought you together or the relationships with that person? Because you have seen some soft skills about that person that you want to continue with. That will now come afterwards. So you need to be clear what the collaboration is about. Collaboration can be short term, nurturing is long term. Nurturing speaks to the relationship between both parties. Collaboration is for a desired impact, is for a desired goal per time. But nurturing relationships can be for life and it will carry on even to your children and children's children. There are people that are late and then their name keeps on opening doors for them because of what they have done ahead. But at the time they collaborated, it's possible my child will not collaborate or the next person in the business will not collaborate with you. That's where relationship now comes to play. So you need to be able to differentiate between the collaboration and the nurturing. Collaboration is part-time. You can get that. You can research the person, but you need to understand if the person at that point in time also wants that collaboration. If they don't want it, you need to be patient. And that's why I said, when I started, I said, communication, you need to be patient. You need to be consistent. And after a while, that ceiling can be broken. For relationships, once you share the same value system, over time, you will just know, you will click, and then you can take it up from there. I hope I've been able to answer that question.
Yes, you have. Thank you very much for your wealth of
Thank you,
knowledge.
Austin.
All right, thank you very much. We'll take the last hand from Isaac. That will be the last question for the night. So, Isaac, you can unmute yourself. Then you ask your question. That will be the last one for tonight. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening,
Good,
presenter. Good evening.
good evening,
Amazing
Isaac.
presentation. I've learned a lot. So, my question is going to be like, normally they say that if you are going to have relationship, you should have a relationship with people that are far ahead of you. Then again, with people that are, you guys are on the same level. Then again, people that are under, like you seem temp under you. So, and the kind of way you are going to keep maintain the relationship for these three classes of people are going to be different. I'm not sure you are not going to have the same relation, how to keep the relationship for these three sets of people. So I'm going to be talking about the younger ones, the people that are below you, the younger ones, mostly in
Okay.
this Gen Z generation. How do you tend to manage that kind of relationship? Because it looks like the way they think and the reason is kind of different from the other classes of people. So how to manage that kind of relationship, these three classes of relationship, especially the Gen Zs?
Okay. Their blood, they hot. Oh, very, very interesting question. So one of the things I said they need to be authentic. The same thing with our children. People can easily read your actions. You know this saying that action speaks louder than words. That's all it takes. For the people below and the young ones, they are drawn into what they see you do, the actions, they are very impressionable. And that's why you see that they use the social media more. Unfortunately, if you call an average young person and you ask them who they admire, I mean, they will likely admire entertainers, maybe footballers. Very few will call, somebody in the academia. I remember growing up, the only people you wanted to aspire to be like were the likes of Chinua or Wale, or I mean, we used to use it that time. You need to go to the dictionary, you need to learn your lexicon. You wanted to just speak the way they spoke, you wanted to act the way they acted. In fact, the influence was so much that you had to go and even buy glasses so that they will feel that you are brilliant, because then there was a mindset to say once you wore glasses you were brilliant, because it was what we saw. So for the young ones, they are more in tune with what they can see. Once you are authentic, you spread the old messages, you spread everything about them. they will gravitate towards you naturally. I mentor a lot of people. I tend to mentor based on what I also do, apart from work in church as well. Um, and I also run an NGO that we go for seminars. We also do a bit of philanthropy work, scholarships, and all that. And one of the things that you see is that the information that they get, they are misguided. There is no enough positive information out there, and it warps their mentality. So you need to be diligent when you are dealing with the younger ones. You need to put in time and energy. You cannot wish it away. So when they come to you, they are very, very flippant. They just want to move. Oh, they are in the jet age. So you need to engage them in what they enjoy doing. In the process of engaging them, you can now share your thoughts. I need to be a good storyteller. The kids, they enjoy stories. The moment you're not telling stories, I mean, they're going to just go away. The next thing, they moved on to the next stage. So for the guys that are young, I would advise you need to be intentional, because we want to build a generation of people that know themselves, they know their God, and they understand that they have purpose on earth. Unfortunately, the kind of generation we are building are people that are just so materialistic and are easily driven by material instincts. And one way or the other, we as parents, we tend to want to follow through that pattern. We need to be careful. It's quite a lot of job. Quite a lot of job. It's something I say you just have to keep on doing. And God on our side, we just have to do this thing. So it is what they see you do, sir. If they know that they cannot trust you, you're not credible. Everything you say will just pass 1 year and go out. But once you are credible, you are authentic, you practice active listening, you are not judgmental. They will listen to you. You cannot begin to influence them. And it takes time and consistency. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Once again, please, can we all give him a round of applause? And please, just to thank him for everything he's done today. So can we all give him a round of applause? Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank
It was
you.
a
And I
pleasure,
think,
Mr. Mike.
thank you, thank you. And I think on that note, we're going to call it a
Naomi is
night.
raising her hand. Okay, because
Okay,
she's the first female, I'll allow that. I'll allow her.
okay,
Please, if
all
you
right.
can, let's accommodate Naomi.
Yeah, but you'll be shocked that the voice in Naomi is a male. Okay, Naomi, let's hear your voice. That will be the last. Okay, go ahead.
I was actually trying to clap. I wasn't trying to lift up my hands.
Oh,
Okay,
okay. Naomi is a guy.
that
Oh,
is
Yes.
apologies.
now
Now is
you
my
see.
first daughter's name.
Okay,
Oh, fantastic.
Yes. Yeah.
okay. At least you've seen a version of Naomi that is not AI related.
Too judgmental. Apologies. Apologies. Apologies.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Thank you. So thank you once again. Thank you. So I want to say thank you all to everyone who has taken some time. We're going to share the materials on the WhatsApp group. So if you want to receive the slides, please just go to the chat box, join the WhatsApp group. We're going to share the slides maybe today, tomorrow. In a few days' time, you are going to get it. Okay. Thank you once again, Samson, for coming. We truly
Thank
thank
you.
you.
I enjoyed
Thank you.
myself. Thank you for the opportunity. I
Thank
really
you.
not taking for granted. Thank you so very much.